Hello. Welcome to the final Yoga for the Creative Soul book club gathering of 2021. We meet for an hour every Wednesday at 12:30 Eastern, and there we start every time with a check-in, and we end with folks sharing their expressive works. None of that happens on camera for privacy. And here in the middle, we are inspired by Yoga for the Creative Soul to support ourselves in mental health through yoga and expressive arts. So there are some lovely echoes through the group today in terms of the support that it's brought people over the last year. If you were here before and wish to join any old time, we await you and we think of you. And for those who haven't been able to make it thus far, but are following the recordings in the group, please feel welcome to join us anytime. The recordings remain available in the group, as well as they're being posted to the group via YouTube. Today we're summarizing chapter 6, the path of karma yoga, finding our true creative selves, finding enlightenment through this path of purpose. Before we get going on the lesson, I wish to acknowledge the roots of yoga, a 5,000-year-old tradition that began in India and is Indian. It's strongly influenced Hinduism, Ayurveda, Indian culture, and we're very fortunate to be privy to this process of how we interface with reality. Where we sit, stand, live, work, and create our lands occupied by the original peoples that through treaty theft or colonization, we now have the privilege of living upon. And it is part of our sacred duty to acknowledge the original caregivers of these lands and to work with current generations to continue to protect these lands, airs, and waterways. So I do encourage you to look in your local region, see the efforts of the Aboriginal peoples, and join them in solidarity as they are tireless in protecting the rights of Mother Earth and the environment, as well as the original peoples. Karma Yoga teaches us about our sacred duty, and it comes with this idea that our soul has its own purpose. We'll talk about that a little bit in the presentation today. Just summarizing the chapter and thinking of how this path of karma yoga is a path of it's a path of action. Karma is action, and karma is the outcomes of those actions. So as a path of enlightenment, as a path of unity with the creative self, karma yoga reminds us that we have a duty to act, that dharma, that sacred duty I was mentioning a moment ago. And each of us has our own sacred duty. It can take a lifetime to dig into, discover, understand what that is, but our interests and our gifts are pointing us in the direction of that sacred duty, or lighting the path. So we're not going against ourselves if we're doing something because it's easy or we're interested or we enjoy it. I would suggest to you that that's one of the ways the soul sings to us, is by calling us in the direction of what we're good at, what we find compelling. But also our dharma is revealed through our pains, through the trials that we face, because a pain that we've gone through, although it leaves us feeling isolated and confused and perhaps broken or shattered, we aren't the only ones to suffer that pain. And when we give voice to it, and as we endeavor on a recovery journey, trauma recovery, finding our way through depression and anxiety and other mental health issues, other trials that appear in life, we find those who have already gone through that journey and support their dharma by letting us support us. And those are links in a chain where as we also live into our recovery, we're an inspiration for others, we're a source of support for others, and that is very much a sacred gift and a sacred duty. I mentioned earlier that we start these gatherings with a little check-in, and one of the intentions is to be a place of safety and support for the community. So if it serves you, if it works in your schedule, please do access all the kindness and listening that this group offers on a weekly basis. Karma yoga can be set forth as a four-prong approach. So how are we staying active in our sacred action? How are we being prudent with our sacred duties? The first is acceptance, this way where we can let whatever is be that. And this really supports our mental health journey as well, as many of us experience ups and downs, and those can be slower cycling ups and downs, 3 months of this, 3 months of that, or even years, where for other people, the cycle will happen within the course of a day. Or sometimes it's both those things at play at the same time. But accepting, okay, this is a lower moment for me, or my monkey mind is acting up and trying to poison me, or I really just need to do a relaxation right now, to listen to and accept the call of the body, the somatics, the emotions, supports our recovery and progress. And similarly, if there's a call to creativity, if we don't engage that call, no one else ever will. So accepting what is genuinely resonating within us, and people are like, what if it's just my addictive personality? Well, with practice we learn the difference. We learn the difference between the self-sabotaging part of us, or the voices of the abusers or abusive culture. We learn to discern that from the truth. And a trick here, kind of a dark humor joke of the way things work, is that the voice of truth tends to be quieter. It tends to be more subtle. It may be persistent, but it is not often insistent. That which is more heavy-handed tends to be that which is programming, false, reactive, defensive. And we can accept our defensiveness, and we can accept our programming. We don't have to give into it, but we can accept, yep, we've all been programmed by abusers, by people who are well-meaning, by a culture at large. And on the outside, accepting things as they are. It doesn't mean to not strive towards change, but accepting that they are this right now. And what is my role within that? Where can I affect change? Where is it important for me to back off a bit and allow breathing room? And as we identify what truly is and what is our part in it, what is the next step? As we take that step, the number 2, concentration is really important. Staying attuned in the moment, focusing on the task at hand, allowing less of the rapidly changing monkey mind to be leading the show, and allowing more of that steady state contemplative mind via concentration to guide us through that moment, that task, that rest. Engaging with excellence, number 3. Excellence is doing our best. And as I was just talking about, moment to moment, we are different. Thus, moment to moment, our best is also different. So we're not comparing ourselves to anyone else, any expert, when that expert is at their best. And we're not even comparing ourselves to our best when we're at our very, very best. We're in the moment through concentration. We're accepting things as they are, and we're invoking excellence as it is at that time, doing our best. And when we know that we've accepted things as they are and we've focused in the moment, we've done our very best, such as it was in that moment that we were in, then we can release attachments to the end results. Do our best and let that be enough. And if there's more to do down the road, then we can do that when that moment arises. But for this moment, that was our best, and we're not attached to the end results. So as we're recording today, we're headed into holiday season. We'll be taking a 2-week break. So nothing on the 22nd, nothing on the 29th, and then back on January 5th as usual, starting up chapter 7. Whenever you're watching this recording, you can apply what we're about to do and what we're about to talk about. But I'm going to use it as an example, holiday season. The holiday season as an example, things are accelerating. Less nutritious choices are more readily available. Because of the busyness, our sleep cycles and our daily routines, exercise, meditation, are more likely to be disrupted. And then because of who we are associating with more often, whether that is family, whether that is coworkers, whether that is neighbors, the more people we're around, the more likely it is that people are going to be pushing our buttons. And there was an activity here in chapter 6 about tracking triggers and working through things when we are triggered. We're going to play into that a little bit more with today's activity. So we'll start with acceptance that, yep, people push our buttons. Yep, I am prone to get triggered. We can accept that about ourselves. And, you know, if you want to take acceptance a little bit further, you can play with some of the ways this person is triggering me is part of this person's pain, right? Hurt people hurt people. And so this person's pain is interfacing with my pain in a certain way. They're very extreme examples of that. I trust for you to protect yourself in relationships, and in the cases where that is abusive, that's not just about being triggered, that's about being abused in the present moment, which is also triggering, don't get me wrong. But for us to maintain our boundaries and maintain our listening, part of our dharma or sacred duty is to self and to not place ourselves in harm's way, ahimsa, non-harm, non-violence. In our spiritual journeys, we may find it less and less triggering to be around those people who used to be quite abrasive or hurtful. That there can come a point in some people's journey where they're able to be around those people where it would have been harmful in the past, and for whatever reasons, the work we've done, the shifts in relationships, the passage of time, those things aren't harmful anymore. Triggering still, sure, but not harmful anymore. And so I'm just leaving space for working through things and not needing always to leave a situation. But I'm leading with, if it's causing you harm, you don't need to be there. It's okay. One of our loyal members is trying to join, so I'm just going to tell this person to close it all and try again. Right when doing tech support, turn it off, and turn it back on again. It's always our method. So, being triggered by the holidays, accepting this is what it is, supporting ourselves and being present in the situation. So this is continually doing that somatic check. How is my breath? How is my heart rate? What kinds of thoughts am I thinking? How can I rise up and be supportive to myself in this moment? And the excellence in that moment is those checks and that responsiveness, being with ourselves, being that self-protective influence, and being quiet enough to listen to what is resonating from deep inside. What are the requests of our present self, but especially when there's trauma at play? What are the requests of my past self, of the unresolved trauma that I'm still called upon to protect? What does that part of me need? Not silencing it, not denying it, not covering it with substance use, and also not just saying it's okay, we're grown-ups now, which is important. It's important to have that voice, but also like, it's okay, we're all grown up, this is the year we're in, and I hear that this is causing you distress. What do you need from me right now? Right? We don't want to just silence those parts of ourselves. We want to hear it, and hear it all the way through to get the message of what is the need in this moment. That's some excellent practice right there. And finally, non-attachment, which is not attaching to a view of how we wanted things to be, not attaching to our expectations, not attaching to who we think we should be or how we think we should feel in the moment, and not attaching to outcomes if we do wind up leaving a gathering or asserting a boundary. But the more we can maintain that calm, that peace in our hearts as we go through all of that, the better able we are to maintain connection to the soul self. So, invoking the soul self now. I'd encourage you, as you're watching this, to do the centering on your feet. That an aspect of grounding is really, really feeling the support of the earth and the support of our lower bodies. Yes, we can ground through the feet, but for those of us with some dissociative issues or trauma, we're really good at feeling our feet and then not feeling our legs. So in standing as we center, you can let your eyes close down if that feels right for you, and begin to rock back and forth on those feet and rock side to side. Maybe you can imagine that a beautiful swipe of paint has come around the entire perimeter of the foot. And as you roll around the perimeter of your foot or your feet, you are stamping that impression on the ground, those beautiful colors onto the ground, and just making sure that you're going in both directions. So back and forth, side to side, but as you're doing these circles, you're going clockwise and counterclockwise, feeling the color upon the earth and feeling yourself growing as a part of the earth, rooted through those energetic roots way down through the soil, the bedrock, to the molten center of the planet, and growing up from those roots, taking in the nourishment, receiving the nourishment of Mother Earth, all the way up through the feet, through the legs, through the hips, giving those hips a little roll, and you can roll circles through your hips, certainly. Notice by habit, which direction do those hips first circle in, and then go in the other direction. And if you want to be fancy, you can make figure eights with the hips as well. Notice how easy that is, perhaps, to make figure eights with the hips and then change direction. Oh boy, it's an entirely different thing. But the hips are thankful for this rolling, encouraging synovial fluid into all the joints of the body. Stabilize now, hips, thighs, knees, lower legs, ankles, feet, including the heels and the toes. And from that stability, Earth's crust growing up through the roots, up through the low body, up to the hips, and feel that height, elongating the waist, still allowing that natural sweep of the spine, creating space between the ribs, becoming tall, all the way up the backbone, long through the neck, out the center of the head. Arms are reaching long through the underarms. And with those arms overhead, start to roll out the wrists. The common way, body always automates into its habits, and then in the other direction as well, the way that you might not have been so accustomed to, and continuing to roll out those wrists as your arms lower down to shoulder height. Turn the palms so that they're facing the sky. So you're turning up and open, and then twist yourself around one way. You can imagine those hips encased in cement so that the twist is just through the waist, intercostals, neck, and then back through the center, coming around the other way. Not moving from the hips, moving from the waist, all the way up the thoracic spine, cervical spine, and back to center. And then stretching up the left arm, lowering the right arm. You can feel, if you place your hand in the soft place of the waist, side bending over, feel that compression through those abdominal organs. We're not just stretching our muscles, but we're actually giving a little massage to the inner world as well. And then trading sides, raising the arm up, hand in the soft part of the waist, massaging those abdominal organs with the side bend, and maybe even some massaging action with the hands. We can go sideways once more, each side, just to give it a little extra. We really miss out on side bends in everyday life, to our detriment, I believe. Holding elbows, opposite elbows and opposite hands behind, or just interlacing your fingers, clasping hands, arching the back open, and feeling a forward motion with this opening, forward and up, forward and up, forward and up, all the way through those sets of vertebrae. Long front body. And as you come through center, then imagine peeling yourself off of an imaginary wall, rolling down one vertebra at a time, all the way down to a forward bend. If it's safe for your neck, let your head hang heavy, let gravity take effect through the spine, nourishing the brain with a little extra blood flow as the head is below the heart. And you're welcome to get strong through your center and sweep up out of this forward bend, otherwise softening the knees, and once again, stacking those vertebrae, one set at a time of spine bones as you roll back up tall. If you have any blood pressure issues, if that makes you a little bit dizzy when you get up there, bring those arms up overhead again, just to help with any lightheadedness before returning to center. And so now, as we move from centering towards our expressive activity, I encourage you to sit, closing the eyes, settling comfortable. Yes. And just begin to imagine yourself as you are today. Imagine yourself settling into a protective bubble. You may imagine as a very strong eggshell. You may imagine as white light or your favorite color. As you settle here, perceive yourself on the inside of that self-protective egg. Eyes closed and concentrating Perceive what it's like to be held in this protective space. And you might even explore the inside of that light beam, the inside of that shell. What are the colors like on the inside of this bubble? Notice that it's semi-permeable, allowing in a flow of love and support. You can imagine the beam from your crown chakra reaching up into the cosmos, the heavens, divine space. And through your root chakra and through your feet into Mother Earth. Nourished from above and below, nourished from all sides. And then in this vision, imagine yourself going about the holiday hustle and bustle. So imagine this protective space supporting you in living your intention, your dharma, being the person that you truly are inside. At any time something scrapes against this protective membrane, your action, karma, is to refortify it, maintaining peace of mind, maintaining intention and self-protection, not creating more karma through emotional outbursts. If emotions arise, as they do, it's their nature. Perceive yourself noticing those emotions, getting the message, and being responsive to yourself. If an emotion is anger, what does that anger really want? So anger will tell you that it wants to lash out, but the underlying need is some form of soothing. Maybe it's active soothing, like going for a walk or lifting weights, creating. Maybe it's passive soothing, like practicing inverted poses, listening to favorite music. And here, as you see yourself going through the world with that membrane intact, protective, accepting the imperfect world, accepting the inner reactions, and continuing to strive towards purpose, contentment, ease, love, safety. Bring yourself to your expressive space and depict what's important for you to remember from this visualization. For those of you watching the recording, spend as much time as you want and depict as many variations as you want of you held within that protective energy bubble, choosing responses and nurturing yourself as you go through this busier time. Thank you all for being here today, live, offering support, and through the recording. So the group continues with sharing today, but the recording signs off now. Post to the group, reach out to me on social with any questions or sharings that you wish. For one-on-one sessions, I am also available to continue to support your journey. Thanks for everything that we had together in 2021, everyone, and wishing you all the best in 2022.